to tell a bit. I chose to call it how to build a collection of Zuid-Afrikaanse Republiek and Transvaal. In honesty, it'll be a bit more like about how I did it, but I'll try and cover the two. I'm sort of a little bit embarrassed to say that I firmly rejected to carry a computer along because I'm commissioned on, had to carry a lot of weight. But Neil is a commissioner and he carried many more collections than I. In addition to 10 kilos of roll, I could have taken a portable PC, I guess, but I didn't. But at least I was smart enough to print out a few things, so there will be a little bit up to look at. I appreciate that it's difficult to see from there, but at least there's a little bit of color. So what do you need to if you want to collect Transvaal? You need stamina, you need patience, you need interest in detail, you need philatelic experience, you need a preparedness not to be right the first time, and you need, well, let's face it, a little bit of money. That helps. So why do you need stamina? Well, you need stamina because these stamps are difficult. They're difficult to acquire. They're difficult to figure out whether they're genuine or whether they're fakes. They're difficult to figure out which printer had printed them and which paper they're printed on. They're just difficult beasts. But that's also their attraction. And you need to be patient, because sometimes it can take a long time before you acquire something new. And again, it has also to do with the difficulty, because these stamps has a sort of a rarity throughout. There is no common Transvaal stamp from before 1880 at least, perhaps even 1885. So here's a 1 penny red on blue paper. It's not the rarest by any mean of the Transvaal stamps, and it's not the most common. The blue paper is a lot rarer than the orange paper, but I mean an auto printing or something is a lot rarer still. But look, 21,440 copies printed and issued. 21,000 stamps, not sheets, stamps, 21,000. 21,844 copies of the Columbus $5 stamp were issued. And I dare say the survival rate would be a lot higher. I would say, perhaps 5%, say 10% of these. But there'll be 80-90% of the Columbus $5 that survived. And it's the numbers of sold. If you look at the 5 pound with Queen Victoria, it's 10 times as many. 246,826 copies were issued of that stamp. I mean, even if it was a survival rate of 1%, it's more common than the, now I'm cheating, but if it was of 10%, then it's more common than the printed numbers of the on blue. So you have to be patient. There'll be days or months where you don't acquire anything. There's a long time between the big items come out. I'm often asked how come it that a Dane living in Belgium are collecting Transvaal? Well, see, I find it the most natural thing, but there is a history. So I lived in South Africa and Johannesburg in 1982-83, and I were hardly there a week before I decided I had to collect the stamps of the country. So I started collecting the Union of South Africa and formed a collection of that, which I still have. But at some point in time, I decided, or let's say, you acquire also a bit of the earlier states when you collect the Union. So, you see some of the older things, and I decided I needed to look into some of these older stamps. And of course, those triangulars from the Cape, they're lovely stamps, so you look a bit at them, and you realize it's a money question, because they're not all that difficult to acquire if you have the money, even the wood blocks. I looked at Natal, but I have to admit I didn't look so long at Natal. I took up Orange Free State even a little while, but it didn't sort of click. And then in November 92, I started collecting Transvaal. On the 4th of February 1993, I bought the Transvaal Philately and a couple of other books from Vera Trinder. On the 26th of February 1993, I became a member of the Transvaal Study Circle. And yeah, so I said in November I started collecting, and I have since I was 15 kept accounts of the money I spent on stamps. And I write it out with some detail what I bought. And on the 19th of December 1992, I've looked back, I bought a 1 penny black. And I can actually trace back, I'll tell you why later, that this was the stamp. That's the stamp I bought on the 19th of December 1992. And it's still in my collection. It's still in my collection. Meanwhile, I know that it's the number 22 in the left pane. Well, it's not a surprise that it's the left pane because the blacks were only printed from the left plate. So there you are. Starting collecting Transvaal November 1992 was fantastic timing, fantastic timing. In February 1992, a certain Major Crittles collection was sold. Yeah, it doesn't help when you start in November, does it? And there was also a Christie sale with some Grosling, which was not long before, and there was the Bill Hart Natal, where there also were some lovely combination covers that are somewhere else nowadays. Yeah, so I was too late. I was too late, basically. But well, I carried on and bought stuff. I have another little entry that I took out of my stamp accounts because I had written some comments. So on the 8th of February 1993, I write in my stamp accounts, small lot of Transvaal, not as much used material as I had hoped for. In addition, I'm not capable of identifying the early issues, let alone determine if genuine. £75, £85, 32 pence, all in. Voila. So you see, I recognized early on that this was a frustrating experience. You need some patience, and you need to study these stamps. You need, the interest in detail. You really need to do that. Study the stamps. Otherwise, you never learn them, and you do make mistakes. I mean, I exhibited once nationally in South Africa, and I got a gold medal, and I'm very pleased and proud, but I'm so embarrassed. I had mixed up the Boreas webbed papers and the Selliers or the Stamp Commission course papers. So they were the wrong way around, but I still got my gold medal. It's, very embarrassing, but true.
More embarrassing for the judges.
Well, I don't know.
No comment.
Early on, I made a decision.
It's possible to, from this thing like that, to really except if you take them out.
Yeah.
And look at them.
Well, I dare say nowadays I can see it on a black and white picture almost, but yeah. So I decided early on to not collect proofs and not collect the fake stamps. And you saw, or you heard in that little quote from my stamp accounts, that disappointingly few used stamps. My sort of history in philately has always been for the used stamps. So proof is of course generally not used, so I was not so interested in them, and the fake stamps are fake stamps. If you want some more fake stamps, well, I'll make some myself, basically, in principle. So I didn't collect that, but this I have regretted many times. So the proofs and the fakes I didn't collect for a long time. Now I do it keenly. I mean, the proofs are fantastic stamps, and there are few of them, so it's not like you have to have before hardening and after hardening and the key plate and everything. It's a little select group of stamps, and they're key to a good exhibit. And the fake stamps are as entertaining to study as are the genuine. They really are, and I'm plating them as well. I'm having as much fun with them as I am with the genuine stamps. And I dare say some of those stamps that we have classified for 150 years as fake, I become more and more convinced that some of them are actually essays. So there's so much to look into. There's so much to look into. In March 1993, I went to the Stampex, wanting to buy a cover. I had no Transvaal covers of the earlier period. So I went around and I asked, do you have any Transvaal covers? And I got a few, you know how they look. It's 1895 and Boer War and Edward VII, which is all very good material, nothing wrong with that, but I was hoping to, perhaps a combination cover or something a bit older. And no, we don't have, no, we don't have. I had a lot of no, we don't have. And then I went to Art Guy Atkins, and a certain Ian Superior was there, and he presented me with 7-8 covers. But I must say I was taken back about the prices. I thought, yeah, that's a lot of money, and what am I buying? I don't really know. I mean, if I have to spend that kind of money, I want to know that I'm buying something unusual or something. I have to have an idea about this. So I started collecting information about covers, which turned into this memoir that the Study Circle issued or published in 2010 on my census on the early covers. I'm still collecting information on those covers, and I'm still adding to it, and it's time to do an update of it and perhaps do it online on our website or something like that. But I'll get around to it one day, but there's so many things I have to do. Also work a bit for a living here and there, but yeah. Now, if I should give one concrete piece of advice how to start collecting, say, early Transvaal, I would say start with these stamps. Start with the 1883 issue, because they are affordable. They're not as plentiful as one sometimes think, but they're affordable at least, so you can accumulate, 10, 20, 30, 50 copies of the penny, the 2, 3 pennies, and the shilling. And then you start to get a feel, you start to learn the image, you start to have a contact with the stamp. So it's a good place to start. And if you buy a few fake ones, yeah, it's not too bad because it's not so much money. But if you start buying, fake auto printings and you have to pay 120 or whatever pounds for them, and then they turn out to be the wrong thing, yeah, it's not your best day. Now, over the years, I've managed to build a collection, but I have built it. I have exactly that word. I have never bought a collection, so it's not like taken over somebody's and then continued. I really started with having no stamps almost, and then I bought stamps one by one. Yeah, sure, I bought a few lots here and there and that sort of thing, but I never bought a collection. So it's pieced together over 30 years. So since November 92, I have pieced it together. And like I said, well, yes, a bit of money helps. I'm not a rich person. I'm a normal person. I'm not a poor person. I have a good life. I'm happy as it is. But I'm not a millionaire. So it's possible to build this Transvaal collection if you invest yourself in it. If you study it, you get opportunities along the line, and you can build your collection. So I'm a nerd, my daughter will tell me. I admit it freely, so you heard I keep my stamp accounts since I was 15, so it's a few summers anyway. So I like to track things, I like to keep records. So I have also a record of my collection. I have copies or scans of my collection every time it's been mounted again. So how do we do this the best? So the first time I mounted my collection was in 1995, and it looked like this. The first page, well, not the introduction page, but the first page with stamps on, and that's Otto's. There's 2 3-pence at the bottom, and then there's a 6-pence imperf and a penny and 2 6-pence and a shilling. So all the values are represented, but there's no distinction between the narrow set plate and the wide set plate. There's not so many stamps on the page, if you ask me. In 1998, I make a distinction between the narrow set and the wide set plates. And so here we have a penny narrow set, but just the penny. And then we have some 6-pence, and I managed to get hold of a couple of pairs. Otto 6-pence pairs are not that easy to find, I can say. But there's a good progression. 2001, there are 4 1-pennies narrow set. The 6-pence is more or less the same, but there's still no wide set 1-penny, only in the narrow set. Now colors are added. 2005, it's the same 4 narrow set pennies. I have now a penny, but just the 1 stamp of the wide set. But let's say there's improvement. What is very clear, there's not a single stamp that is plated. They're all there's a sort of a very sorry excuse for showing a few copies. It says vermilion and a slightly darker vermilion and brick red and very dark brick red. Yeah, it's a bit like I'm pushing it just to an excuse for adding the stamp. But 2011, now I'm starting to plate some of them at least. There's some positions. I've added the shilling narrow set. I got a pair on the wide set 1-penny. 2013, it's only a year later, so I have a proof of the narrow set 1-penny. 2015, I start to have a little bit of funny stuff. There's a double rouletted narrow set 1-penny. And 2016, I have added the shilling proof. So now I have, it's a page only narrow set stamps. So it's narrow sets 1-penny and narrow set 1 shilling and a proof of either value. Right. Move it down there. And then 2022, which is my efforts culminating here. I thought I could get away with a bit of retouching to prepare for this exhibition, but no. So I redid 128 pages. We're here starting in December. It was a few very short nights here and there, but I got through it. Now I have a dedicated page for the 1-penny narrow set, 2 copies of the proof, and a sheet reconstruction. Yes, there are 2 positions missing, but it's quite remarkable, in all modesty, to do this. Not alone do I have 14 of the 16 positions. I am here proving that it's a plate of 16, which is not known. This is new knowledge. If you read previous literature, there's ideas of it being a plate of 24 or 40 or whatever, but it's a plate of 16. And yeah, that's where I am. So you can tell what I'm looking for. You can tell what I'm looking for. But I've made a book on the on the 6-pence stamp, and I'm busy with the 1-penny. So I'm I'm a plating nerd. I plate everything and describing everything and the setting, and so, and I can here will, once it's published, then there's the description of every single position there of those 16, and it's knowledge for us all to use or not use. This is what I have to say here, but I'll be very happy to go in front of the frames, because my 8 frames are exhibited upstairs, and walk you through the collection, sort of a quick overview of what is in it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. If I'd listened to you 25 or 30 years ago, I might have had more success. And you have given us a map of the route to success. Anyone who's young enough to be able to convert whatever they're doing to something dedicated and commitment to dedication like you is to be encouraged. Thank you for your insights. They're very rarely heard, that sort of thing, I think. So you have time to...
I have all the time.
Sure. Anybody bursting with questions?
If I might comment, I was here early this morning and walked past one of the dealers' stand, and that orange £5, I think he had 100 lying there.
Yeah.
And the pounds also, you know, it was rows and rows and rows.
They're still lying there.
So I think that Transvaal is so much more rare, and the prices does not reflect that.
Imagine the popularity was the same for Transvaal as it is for Cape or of GB. Whoa, the prices.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you look at Petersburg as well, for example. Petersburg, the catalogue price of those is ridiculously low, considering how many of them were legitimately printed and legitimately used and are on the market now.
Yeah.
Very, very few. The price should be 3, 4, 5, 10 times more. I'm glad it's not, because I collect them.
But fair enough, it's all a question of demand as well as supply, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the demand is there.
Yeah.
The supply isn't.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Did you have a lot of contact with like Aki de Jager and Alan Drysdale? Did they give you a lot of
Yeah, I
advice?
should have mentioned Alan Drysdale. I was of course a naive collector in the beginning, but Alan was very, very supportive. He was the editor of the Transvaal Philatelist when I started, and he was a natural contact. I mean, you immediately got the address of, you know, you could write to him and ask questions. And I remember he exhibited in Amsterdam. I can't remember which year, but I remember he exhibited in Amsterdam, and I asked. I don't think he was there actually, but I wrote to him and saying, "Would you incidentally perhaps have the possibility that I don't know? Could I have a copy of your collection?" And he sent it to me and said I had made a copy before the exhibition for insurance purposes. So he just sent me that copy, and that has for years been a reference for me. And I was once visiting at home, and he just you know shared. He just poured all information at me. I mean, of course, I was drooling looking at his stuff, and so, but he has been tremendous support. I wrote stuff in the Transvaal Philatelist relatively shortly after I joined. I made a little study of the overprinted VR Transvaal overprints, and yeah, of course, I've come a hell of a long way since then. But he supported me, sending me photocopies of the blogs he had, and so on, to help piece together what I was trying to say. And no, I must also say that yeah, we're all a bit vain, aren't we? And but at the Southern Africa weekend, I'd done a presentation or two, and sort of it warmed my heart when he came up to me and said, "Well done, Lars." You know, like it's the recognition you like to hear.
Also, have you had a chance to spend time in the museum in Joburg and with that collection?
With the Curl collection.
Yeah.
So I was in Johannesburg in 2001, was it?
Yes.
And there it was on show in the
Yeah,
African
that's right,
Museum,
yeah, yeah.
and I spent a long time there. I was in front of it twice, and then when there was the show in 2010, yeah, 2010, and I had another occasion, and so I have extensive notes from looking at it. I looked a lot, but that is another disadvantage of Transvaal. Not only is the material scarce and all of that, but a lot of it is housed in big collections. There is the Curl collection that has swallowed a tremendous bit, sadly. There's the Tambling collection, which is strong on Transvaal, and there's the Royal collection, which is strong on Transvaal. So there's so much material that's just been taken out of the market. I'm not going to give it to a museum, don't worry.
And then there's your mate in Joburg that hogs everything.
There's a competitor, yeah. There are others collecting, but yeah, no, true. No, but in spite of there being somebody like Fernando Torres who knows his stamps and has an amazing amount of Transvaal, there's still room for somebody like me to build a collection.
Evidently.
Chris, if I might just ask Keith. Keith, have you had a look at the Natal in Durban Museum?
Yes, I've been on the floor there. So in fact, there's so many parallels because the same story for Natal. There's the Man collection at the Royal that Tambling has, the Queen has, and then there's the Hurst collection in Durban, and it's lying in the basement. You have to literally lie on the concrete to pull out some of the shelves. And I took pictures there and got them to scan the major items, so at least we have a record of what's in there in case it starts to disappear, but it's not in good condition.
Well, that's what we heard,
yeah,
that it's in a terrible condition.
Yeah,
But do you think it's worthwhile throwing money at it and try and
maybe
do something with it?
Maybe if it really, the problem with all of these things is there's so few people interested to go to museums and look at stuff. I mean, I have nobody here would know, but I have an Ecuador collection, and there's a fabulous Ecuador collection at the Smithsonian. And when I went in there to look at it, they said, "You're the first guy who's asked to see this collection in 20 years." And so it's a real problem. But I commend you. I mean, I also have scans of everything. I love to make lists of everything that exists, and it adds so much to our knowledge. It's been great.
Come in, Jack. For those who don't know, this is Jack Chang, fellow of the Royal Society, also a photographer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's unfortunate
Ron,
that because apparently that was a very good collection that's in the Natal Museum.
Yeah, he has a tape base of the Thruppence, which is where they put in a safe at least. But I did take pictures of the Curl collection of the Transvaal combination covers in that.
Well, I have actually managed to obtain a scan of the Curl collection, so I have that, but it's under strict orders. I'm not allowed to share it with anybody and all of that. But
Even show it to anyone.
Well, I can show it. I don't think there's a restriction on that, but I have obtained a scan, which is a tremendous help also when I do my plating stuff, as you can imagine.
I think we should try and get a scan of the Hurst collection as well. It'll depend on whoever the curator
The problem, I don't want to make my problems your problem, but the problem is that there's a mountain range there in South Africa called the Drakensberg, and once you cross over the Drakensberg, you'd go into another world called Natal, and these guys are just as if the rest of the country does not exist. I mean, I've been there for 2 days trying to talk to them, and So we don't really have any good contacts, but Proctor might.
Yes.
He might be able to help us there, and I think I'll approach
Roger
him.
Porter.
Roger Porter.
Yeah. I
Yes,
don't know if
I'm-
you guys are old enough to remember, but there was a fabulous show in 1963 called Wait a Minute. And one of the parts of the show they say, Natal is also a part of South Africa.
It's unbelievable. The flatlands just they go that way, and the rest of us are going this way. You know, it's as if we live in different worlds. I don't know what we're going to do.
always been like that. You've got the Lincoln.
Yeah.
That's it.
You only
No, it's
have to
very
look
difficult.
at the results of the referendum for the Republic,
Yeah.
which were published by constituencies.
May I ask you something from a federation point of view? We have quite a substantial website now called SA Stamps. The access is limited. You can go in, you can get a lot of information, but after that, it's there's a limit up to where you can go, and you have to be a member then. Would you guys, and I don't want to, it's just, can we discuss it at a later stage? So that you join us in that website, because we've spent a lot of money on it. There's lots of space to bring in your website into this and so forth. Will you be interested in talking about it? You don't have to give an answer now, but will you consider it?
I think we'll talk about anything. Yes.
I've been aware of that for a little while.
Because we have the facilities
Yeah,
available, we have the knowledge, we can support you. That's what I'm trying to say. But by bringing you into the fold, we will also strengthen ourselves.
Yeah, it could be a win-win, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Because Lars, you mentioned how you could put all this online. I mean, with the Transvaal and Cape, we also we're thinking of putting the journal all available online and searchable.
Yeah, and
So if you're interested in Transvaal or whatever's been ever, come in there. You just put in that word. And
anything
you'll
of
be able to
South
check it out in a
Africa.
minute. Yeah.
Yeah. So Keith, we're going to speak to you as well. We'll work through you, or
Well, just chatting to Baz there, that a lot of the material, a lot of the articles that we're publishing right now on the cancellations are already now being hosted on your website.
Yes.
So it's already working.
we're trying to.
It's already working. So
Yes.
yeah, I don't see why we couldn't.
You can even argue that's half of the GP for the last year or two.
Absolutely, there's any number of articles that could go
No, but,
on there.
guys, we shouldn't be dog in the manger attitude, which my friends unfortunately still have, which I argue is 80% of all collectors that the dealers sell to do not belong to clubs.
Yes.
Okay, right. So they're submarine collectors. So we leave them to the devices to listen to dealers what is rare and the knowledge. So why don't we give those people the knowledge for free? Because it's to our benefit in every club, right?
Yeah, and I mean, there has been,
Yes.
we in Transvaal Study Circle, we've been hesitant to go sort of full-fledged website because there's been differences of opinion. I mean, this idea of sharing all the back numbers of the magazines, but it's giving, I mean, people have spent memberships for years and giving it away free, but I think it works the other way around. If you give this information, people get engaged and interested and they'll join anyway.
Yeah.
And if you want to, you can go to a
Absolutely.
good philatelic library and photocopy the stuff.
Yeah.
It's not private. But yeah, I pick up your point, Emil, that last year you wrote the lovely introductory article on the sixpenny eagles, for example, spread eagles, which is exactly the sort of thing that should be in there. It tells you absolutely everything you needed to know. It doesn't matter how many years of experience, you always go, yeah, I didn't know that. just that sort of thing, without giving too much away, because really all it is a summary of publicly available knowledge, just happens to have been put together by somebody who damn well knows about it.
I can just say that we don't see it as a money-making exercise.
No, it's information.
We have there's a big area that's open to the public, but once you want to go beyond that, you have to pay a minimum fee. I think it's £7 a year with unlimited access. So we do have a limitation, but most of the information is available.
How many people will spend thousands and thousands on stamps and won't pay £7 a year?
Well, I've been putting up, I don't know how many collections here. It's amazing how many thousands there is on the page, and then it's the crappiest plastic and scrap paper, and it's amazing.
It is a bit.
I can just say that since we've introduced this very low fee, we've gained quite a number of new members.
Thank you very much.
Go. Thank you very much. I think we're eating into your time, Lars. Thank you again. Thank you all for your attendance and
Congratulations, Chris.
help.
Yeah.
I mean.